The options on the table for the Glazer family right now probably aren't as attractive as they expected when they went public with their intention to consider selling Manchester United back in November. They slapped a world record £6 billion asking price on the club, while also keeping open the possibility of opting for minority investment instead. Now, it looks increasingly likely they will have to either sell up for a lesser fee or take the investment, keep hold of the club and somehow deal with the fallout, which won't be pretty. If Joel and Avram Glazer, the two siblings most wedded to the idea of staying in control, need any reminder of how they're viewed even when the success returns, they only had to watch the final few minutes of the Carabao Cup final. Avram was at Wembley to hear the closing stages of that game played out to the soundtrack of We Want Glazers Out. A full sale is the only palatable option to supporters who have spent 17 years campaigning for the Glazers to go, but the size of the asking price and the scale of investment required at Old Trafford and Carrington has put off plenty of potential buyers. If the market around Chelsea was a shock due to the number of bidders, the attempts of US bank Rain to sell United has been a reminder that the football industry does still have limits. Sources have said that Rain were confident in November that they would be able to do with United what they have done with Chelsea, but it hasn't been that easy. The Qatari bid of Sheikh Jassim and Sir Jim Ratcliffe's Ineos Group are the only realistic buyers for the club at the moment, and neither seems to view it as a £6 billion business. That might force the Glazers to either lose face and accept a lesser fee, or do a deal for minority investment and retain overall control. As one source put it, if they did that they would have to deal with the United fanbase. That's one way to get a new ground, because the fans have burnt it down. Wednesday's deadline for new bids was only ever considered a soft deadline, but it does play into the theory that Rain and the Glazers are trying to drum up more interest or play on the desire of Sheikh Jassim or Ratcliffe to buy the club and forcing them to up their bids. Kieran Maguire, football finance expert and author of The Price of Football, explains, "They've got to try to persuade the owners either to buy it as a trophy asset at that price and you're buying the kudos and reputation and glamour that goes with it being Manchester United. Or you've got to persuade them that there are as yet untapped revenue streams such as streaming which could become lucrative in future years. But they would have to get that through the rest of the Premier League." The extension to the deadline has led to more people voicing fears that this is all a ploy by the Glazers to remain in control, with the aim of showing how valuable the club is to engineer more favourable rates of finance. But Rob Wilson, who specialises in football finance at Sheffield Hallam University, still expects a full sale to go through and for the Sheikh Jassim bid to be determined to come out on top. The reality is, the Qataris want something on the same sort of level as the Abu Dhabi Group and now the Saudis, that hotbed in the Middle East that is craving ownership of professional football projects, he said. The alternative is that the Glazers accept a minority investment, with Elliott Management showing its hand with a view to taking a stake in the club. One of the issues facing the family is that they do not all sing from the same hymn sheet. The Manchester Evening News has been told that 4 siblings, Brian, Edward, Darcy and Kevin, want to bank their profits and get out and would have even done a deal for £3 billion. The figures that Sheikh Jassim and Ratcliffe are at now already eclipse that, but is it enough for all 6 of the Glazer siblings to agree? Avram and Joel have considered the idea of using investment to buy the others out, although at least one of the American investment funds looking at the club have distanced themselves from providing cash for that purpose. I'm not convinced that Avram and Joel want to sell. The other siblings don't care and they just see dollar signs in front of them," said Maguire. They could each walk away with the thick end of $500 million. It's money for nothing from their point of view. They also don't have the negativity of being a Glazer who owns Manchester United. They don't want the publicity, they don't want the notoriety. In an ideal world, I think Avram and Joel would like to buy out their siblings, but they don't have the resources to do that. Whether somebody else will give them those resources is uncertain. What happens next might ultimately come down to whether either bidder hits that £6 billion threshold. That might be what Rain and the Glazers are banking on, but the options on the table at the moment probably aren't what either party expected 4 months ago.